Welcome, everyone, to Redox Nurse Talk tonight. We're glad you're taking time out of your night to come with us and learn about this technology. My name is Cindy Reed, and I am here in the Nashville area, and my co-host is Doria Stewart, who is outside of the Atlanta area. We're both nurses, and we decided to do this Zoom on a weekly basis just to share this technology with people. We have an awesome guest tonight, and she is going to prove that this not only works on humans or people, it works on animals. So first of all, I want to state our disclaimer that this technology does not diagnose, treat, or cure any condition or any disease. It just increases the cellular communication to allow the body to do what it needs to heal itself. And also, I've opened up the chat. So if you have questions for Beth throughout the interview or after the interview, if you would put those in the chat, we will not open it up audibly for questions. So you will have to put those in the chat for her. We do upload this to our YouTube channel afterwards. It would be up by in the morning. So if you would just go to YouTube and search Redox Nurse Talk, you should be able to find all of our past recordings as well. We're going to start off with a short video for anyone that's new, just explaining what this technology is and does, and you will hear from some of our medical professionals as well. We will do that, and then Doria will be interviewing our guest. We have Beth Wofford on for tonight, and she trains thoroughbred horses. So she's going to have an amazing story. I can't wait to hear it because I love horses. So let's start with our video. We've changed the format a little bit of our Zoom. So I'm trying to find where everything is. We may have a challenge here. I'm trying to find the share screen. Okay. Well, we may be skipping the video until I figure
That's
this
all right.
Until I figure this out. Looking under more. Oh, there it is. Okay, hang on. Share screen. Okay. You know, us in technology, it takes a little while. Hopefully this is going to work. Okay, it's asking me all these questions, but I don't see it allowing me to share.
Okay, well, we can start with the interview, and then Beth can share with us a little bit about what we're talking about too. And then of course the people that have, come on, they can we can, shoot them to the other videos that they can look at.
Exactly right. Yeah. Okay, Doria, just go ahead and introduce Beth, and then we'll start the interview process, and y'all can put questions in the chat.
All right, sounds good. So what an honor I have to introduce you to Beth Wofford. She lives, let me get this right here. She lives in Lexington, Kentucky. She's been there for over 45 years. She's married to her husband, Bill, and they have been self-employed training thoroughbred racehorses on their farm. And she affectionately refers to what she does as teaching equine preschool. When she began her additional career in wellness in 2001, she was looking for a new purpose in life. She found it in February of 2010 with ASEA's mission to better people's lives and be a force for good in the world. She has a daughter. She has a PhD in pharmacology and a doctorate in veterinarian medicine, currently working as a veterinarian research scientist, and her son Gabe is an orthopedic physician assistant. Both are enthusiastic consumers of ASEA products. So Beth, what I'd like to do is have you share with us how Redox came into your life.
Very good. That might be an interesting question to people because, how can you hear about redox molecules when you live on horse farm? Even though my daughter has a degree in pharmacology, so she's very science oriented. I have a wonderful, wonderful dear friend who was a family practice physician. Those of you who have been in ASEA for any length of time might have heard of Dr. Rob Ward, the Redox doc. And he was a very, very dear friend of mine. And we had been playing this game for 20 years before I found ASEA, saying, oh, I heard about this new wellness technology. And what about this? And he'd call me and say, I heard about this new stuff. No, I think it's all bogus and blah, blah, blah. And so we'd been doing this for a long time. And when he called me one day and he said, Beth, I found something that I honestly believe will change not only the wellness industry, but the healthcare as I know it. And he was so intense and so convinced. I said, I don't know what this stuff is, but I want some. This is great. I've never heard you speak like that. That's just incredible. And so he gave me a little bit of a rundown of the science. And of course, I love science as well, even though I ride horses for a living. So the science made so much sense to me. It was so lovely. It was like an elegant solution to how our bodies work. I have been hurt a lot with horses because I've been riding, I started getting paid to ride when I was 14 years old. So I've been hurt many, many times. And I've developed a very, very strong respect for the human body's ability to heal itself, because I've healed back 100%. I've broken serious bones, been in hospital, I've been in body casts and all over the place, and I've always healed back 100%. So when anything that is, you start out by saying this helps the body heal itself, I'm all over it. I think that's the neatest thing in the whole world. And I knew, as my husband and we've been in business now didn't update my bio, but actually getting close to 50 years now. And we have been, in this industry that we absolutely love. It's something that we feel very passionate about. We love getting up every morning and going to work, which is right behind me, which is in the background of my Zoom. So we really, we're starting to think, we're starting to get into our 70s. How much longer are we going to be able to do this? And when ASEA came along, I mean, back then it was almost 15 years ago, of course. And so we hadn't started feeling it quite as much as you'd think, but I just thought we were worried about how much longer we were going to be as physical as we are, because Bill does all the farm work and then he plays tennis 3 times a week and he's a wild man. So when this came along, I thought we can stay younger longer. This is awesome. This is all I need. And I brought it home and gave it to Bill and he said, I don't know what it is. I'll take it. Sure, I'll take it. So, and since then we've been feeling better and better and better. And, every time we get knocked around with a horse or we get, come off a horse, which is always going to happen, we just roll over and we jump up and say, thank heavens for ASEA. So knock wood, we haven't been hurt since we've been on ASEA for the last 15 years. But we also have had some significant health challenges that were helped from this product. I jumped on board. I bought as much as we could buy at that time. The company was very new because I knew I wanted to be on this product. I loved the idea of helping my body work naturally, but I didn't have any concept that it was going to help. I wasn't trying to fix anything because I was 100% healthy. I had 2 chronic issues that I've had for many, many years that no medication has ever helped in any way. And it never occurred to me that this product could help those issues. One was from the time I had a hysterectomy, for 10 years, I was on a massive dose of hormone replacement therapy because my body couldn't metabolize synthetic hormones. So I was very, very sick, and they put me on massive doses of hormones to give me my life back. And about every year and a half, I'd try to wean off and I'd be sick within hours. I mean, I literally would be in bed within hours as soon as I started cutting back a little bit. So when this came along, it never occurred to me it would help me. And lo and behold, I started drinking the product and I started feeling a shift, kind of a hormonal shift. But I wasn't sick at all, but I thought, this is so interesting. I don't know what's going on. So I called Rob and I said, do you know, what do you think's happening? I think there's a shift in my hormones. I don't feel bad. And he said, I think your body's finally metabolizing hormones and you don't need that huge dose of synthetics that you're on. I'll help you wean off if you want. Now that's important because he was a doctor, and my doctor, my gynecologist would have helped me because she'd been helping me all along trying to get off wean, but it never worked. But because he was a doctor as well, he said, I will help you wean off this. And I was very chicken-hearted. So it took me 2 months because I was sure. I was so cocky. I told him, well, we can start next Wednesday because I have the afternoon free and I can be in bed sick, because I knew it wasn't going to work. I was like the opposite of placebo. And I started taking the product and I've never felt better. That was almost 15 years ago. But more impactful to my life is I have been a very severe one-sided headache sufferer since I was 11 years old. And I've had those, I luckily only had them about every 6 to 8 months. But when I had them, I would first go blind, and then I couldn't speak, and then I would have to be in a dark room for no less than 2 days. It would wipe me off 2 days of my life, always. It didn't matter where I was. I could be on vacation. I had to be in a dark room for 2 days. So that was pretty impactful, and there was no way of knowing what was going to cause it. And I found out after about 6 months on Redox, I started thinking, when was my last headache? That's interesting. And I'm here to tell you that my last headache was over 15 years ago, because I have not had a headache since I've been on this product, which has been life-changing. So that's how I was brought into this wonderful technology.
Okay, awesome. I love that. So listen, we weren't able to show the video. We may have some people that are on here for new. They were invited as guests. So tell us what redox signaling molecules are, just in a very generic way.
Sure. What attracted me so much to this product is, our every single cell in our body, our bodies are all made up of cells, all kinds of different cells, but cells are the baseline of everything in our body. And every single cell in our body works the same way. It has the ability to protect itself from outside invaders or anything going on or any damage. And if it can't protect itself, if in fact it does get damaged, it has the ability to repair itself. And if it gets so badly damaged that it can't repair itself, it has the very important ability to kill itself off. It's called apoptosis. And if that doesn't happen, what happens is that the damaged cell kills itself off, and then a healthy cell can fill in that gap with another healthy cell. It can replicate and fill it, and then that happens thousands of times a second all over our bodies. That's always happened. But things dying, cells being killed, damaged cells being killed off, healthy cells replicating, everything's fine. The problem happens when that damaged cell does not kill itself off, but it replicates. So that's the basis of disease. That's the flatline basis of all disease, that you get replicating cells that are damaged. The biggest way the reason that happens is because there is no connection, there's no signal that goes through to the immune system. So when something happens and the cell is hurting and it needs help from the immune system, if that signal isn't clear, where the cell sends out a signal and says, I need help, and if the immune system doesn't get the signal or overreacts, which you hear about with autoimmune diseases, then you get all sorts of trouble, and your body those cells can't react the way they're supposed to. And that's a huge part of why this is called redox signaling molecules, or redox signaling biochemistry. That signal is a big part of it. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell. That's what this product is it's just those molecules. Every single cell has to have a balance of redox molecules that are made during the course of the cell mechanism. There's a little power plant that makes energy, and in order to do that, they have to have balanced redox molecules in every cell. When that cell breaks down and can't do what it's supposed to, can't save itself or can't kill itself off, that's because of a lack of redox molecules. You supplement with redox, it goes directly to the cells that are imbalanced, that are in trouble, and the body can work the way it's designed. Simple, elegant solution. It's just wonderful, and it works.
Yeah. So does this? Can anybody take this?
That's a great question. This is 100% non-toxic. I think that's the thing that surprises most scientists, there is no toxicity to this in any context. You could drink a gallon of this product and it won't hurt you. It will not hurt you at all. It does not interfere with any medication. It's perfectly safe to take with any kind of meditation or other modality that you might be on. It actually, what happens, what we have found with doctors, with doctors' help, if people are on medications and they start feeling better, they sometimes want to go to their doctor and say, I wonder if I still need as much medication because I'm feeling a lot better and my body's, kind of repairing itself. Do you think I need? And most physicians will say, well, let's see about, dropping your blood pressure medicine or cutting down a little bit on your blood sugar medicine or something. But that's only with a doctor's help. But very often we found that people can reduce their medications because their bodies are now starting to work so much better that they utilize whatever medications on board that much better. And sometimes they start like I didn't need that synthetic hormone anymore. So you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. All right. So you have this beautiful horse farm that we can see behind you. And I would just love to be right there where you are now. And you've been training race horses for, you said now for 50 years. Once you realized what the ASEA Redox was doing for you personally, and I know you've had your husband's had some benefits as well. And you said your children are on it too. What point in your career did you decide to start sharing this with others?
That's a great question because I was just, well, first off, I've always been kind of, holistically minded. I've never really, I've kind of been a student of wellness here and there, and I've known my sphere of influence, my friends know that. So when I found out about this, again, not thinking that it was going to fix anything because I didn't think I had anything to be fixed, I immediately went out and started saying, I just heard about this stuff. It is so cool. You got to see this. This is great. And I had people jumping on board like that, which I was really shocked about. And so I thought, I've been self-employed my whole life. I don't know anything about corporate America or anything about, any business other than what I have set up. I keep all the books for the farm. I do everything. I've set them all up myself. And I don't know anything about business. I better look into this pretty carefully because people were getting results and they were saying, this is incredible. Is there a business attached to this? And I said, sure, this is great. And I started getting a thank you check from ASEA before I ever had any context about the business. So I thought I really need to find out what's behind this and why, what's happening, because I was sharing it with people without really paying attention. So I went out to Salt Lake and I met the founders of the company. And that was very important because I thought if I'm going to start, even if I don't care anything, I wasn't focused on the business. If I'm going to share this with people, I need to know what's behind it. I need to know who is behind it and what they have in mind. And it was the turning point for me because I have never met the kinder, more compassionate human beings in my life than the founders of this company. And I said, when I found out their mission statement is to better people's lives and be a force for good in the world. And in the 15 years I've been associated with them, there has never been a moment that they haven't stood up to that and said, yes, this is what our mission is. And I said, I want to be a part of this. So I started being very serious sharing this with everybody because I knew I could trust the people behind it. And that was the most important thing. So I started really sharing it with everyone. The interesting thing was because I was the first professional animal trainer that had signed on with ASEA, I started very quickly being kind of earmarked as the animal person. So I started having people call me from everywhere, all over. At that point, it was not all over the world. It was all over the country, telling me stories about what had happened with their animals. So I set up a monthly call with Trish Winkler, who is my upline, and she got me set up with a monthly call, but we had no way to that we could record it for a month, but we couldn't archive it. So for 7 years, we did a monthly animal call, and I'd have people come on and tell their animal stories. And then we finally switched over 7 or 8 years. Anyway, we switched over to the a webinar format, and we were able to archive after that. And so we started archiving a lot of the animal stories, and I would have for another several years. Until we built up an archive of several different videos. I did that once a month. That website is animalwebinar.com. And it is, if you want to put it in the chat, it is password protected. So the password is associate with a capital A. It's password protected just in case someone says something that is non-compliant and to make some kind of medical claim inadvertently. So that's where there's probably close to 40 or maybe over 40 videos there now. Mine is at the very bottom that tells all my stories of all my animals. So it's really wonderful.
I was going to lead into that. You already have about transitioning over to your four-legged friends. So do you have some testimonies you'd like to share about that?
Sure. The interesting thing, people often ask me that. They say, do you give it to your horses every day? Well, we train horses for other people, and we train very young horses. The horses that come to me, they usually come to me when they're about 18 months old. And I'm the first person to put a saddle and bridle on them and put a rider on their backs and all of this kind of thing. Then they go home and they grow up for a couple months and they come back to us as 2-year-olds and they get their physical conditioning and then they go on to the racetrack. So we're working with very young horses. The story behind us redox molecules is you have a full complement of redox molecules from birth to puberty. Your body is making a full complement every time you have a problem. When you fall off your bike when you're 8 years old, you bounce up. Okay, even if you break your arm falling out of a tree, you're going to heal up. Everything's fine because you have a full complement of redox molecules. It's only after puberty that science has proven that 10% a year, we have a 10% decrease in the cell efficiency, in the way our cells produce redox molecules. That is a 10% deficiency every decade of our lives from that point on. So that's why really my horses are young and they really are very, very healthy. We use it very, very often. We use it for issues. I always laugh and say, our horses are like 1,000-pound Labrador puppies. So they crash into each other and they knock each other down. They run, they're always rolling around and hurting themselves periodically. And we use our first line of defense is using both of the products. I use the spray bottle in a spray, liquid in a spray bottle, and I use the Renew, the gel on them as well. So that's really and we have several different stories about that. But again, over the years, I have hundreds and hundreds of stories of every species. I mean, I'm talking guinea pigs and ferrets and parrots and snakes, and we even have a goldfish story of that a goldfish came back to life when they're it's really remarkable. So there really are so many different stories. I have I could tell you many stories. I guess I could probably share. I pulled up a couple pictures. This is actually pretty common. This is one of our horses. Hold on one second. Here are all my pictures. This is one of our horses and this happens quite often. No, this is a dog story. Oh, I didn't bring my horse eye story up because I had this dog story already up. This is a dog that had that really, really severely injured his cornea. And they said it was going to have to have surgery and it was very important. And then, they were going to have to do it or the dog was going to go blind. And their owner elected to come home and spray ASEA in the dog's eyes, which I have used this with horses with puffy eyes or damaged eyes with incredible results. And this is what happened. It took about 10 days. And this is that same eye, perfectly healthy, which is really cool. I love that. Because a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Hold on, let me see if I can get.
Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah.
It is.
So that's very cool.
Using this spray, is that a better way to apply systemically? Is it better to spray with the Redox versus putting the Renew 28 on an animal?
Well, this is a great question, and this guy is a really good. This is a good segue into introducing this horse. This guy came to us as a yearling, and he came with the left-hand side, this huge mouthful of warts, which are caused by a virus. It's, people get them. I should probably be using just to say it's a virus that animals and people get. They're notoriously hard to heal. And this poor little guy came in and they were bleeding and crusty and horrible and very painful. It really hurt him. He was the sweetest little horse. Well, I nicknamed him Toad, obviously. But he was so tender to touch his muzzle that I really didn't feel like rubbing the Renew on it. That's why I use the spray so much, because when they are hurt and they're babies and they don't want you they're just like little kids. They don't want you touching something that hurts. So when you put that spray, I got the spray bottle and and I just drenched. And actually, this was before the Renew, so I didn't have the Renew. So I got a spray bottle and I completely drenched his muzzle, and he loved it. I couldn't believe it. I was real surprised. Now, if you're sitting there thinking this is made from salt and water, and it must be salt water. If you put salt water on an area that hurts that badly, you think especially a horse, a young horse, would stand there and say, "This feels great," and lean toward you if you were putting salt water on him? Of course not. But he loved it. I only did this once a day. I would drench his muzzle. And the second picture from the left is 5 days later. The third picture is 10 days later. And the picture on the right is 2 weeks after he came. I mean, that is unheard of. We get horses all the time with warts, and this never happens. You can never get them healed that quickly. So this was absolutely unbelievable. And believe me, he was very happy and he loved it. He would look for the ASEA bottle every time we came in the stall. He loved it. He liked to get me sprayed. I think he was disappointed when he healed up and I didn't do it anymore. But the answer to your question is yes. We use the spray bottle a lot, especially for lacerations or eyes or something like that, that they just, it's real tender to the touch. And the spray works great. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Wonderful. Wow. It's beautiful. So is there a placebo effect with animals?
That's the other thing that is so impressive about this. And you kind of answered your own question. The beautiful thing about talking about redox with animals is there is no placebo effect. You can't talk an animal into feeling better. I can't tell you that. I'm sure everyone on here that has shared ASEA with anyone, you'll hear somebody say, I feel a whole lot better, but this can't be that stuff. It can't be that stuff. It can't help me feel that much better that quickly. It can't be that, so you hear these naysayers and people that talk themselves out of it and say, no, I don't think it can possibly be that. You don't get that with animals. Animals know when something's good and something's helping them, and they get better, and they usually get better much quicker than people do. And it's my idea that I think, number one, I think they have accelerated lifespans because their bodies obviously age much quicker than ours do. So that works faster. But I also believe it's because they don't think themselves out of it. They don't get in their own way. And it's really remarkable. I've had people that are very scientific that say, I don't think I'm buying this, they're very, very skeptical. And when they hear about the stories with animals, they say, well, there's got to be something to this. You can't fake an animal out. You can't fake that toad's face and those warts. You can't fake that. So, it's pretty remarkable.
Yes, yes, it is. Well, I know we have some people on the Zoom, and you might have addressed this already, but they're wondering how could they share this with their own vet?
Mm-hmm. That's a very good question. And I get that question. I do a lot of 3-ways with people. I'm always happy to do 3-ways, especially with horse people, because that we speak a certain language. So people like to talk to another horse person. I will tell you that the veterinary arm of the FDA is much more stringent than the human one. And it is illegal for veterinarians to market this product for their clients and their patients. Now they can't market it. So what I'm saying is that we have many vets that will drink this and will love this product. And that's, if you want to talk to your vet, the very first thing I would say to him, especially if it's a horse vet, every horse vet's been hurt. But I would say, do you have any of you talk to him as a person? And if he starts and you can say, this product does this, you might want to try it for yourself or your loved ones. And believe it or not, it works beautifully on animals as well. And usually they'll say, oh, wait a minute. I can't do this. I can't do this professionally. I've got to find out. But once they feel it in their own bodies, then there's a segment of very open-minded vets that will then say, they can tell their clients, just like the doctors do. There is a holistic product that seems to have helped a lot of animals. If you are willing to try it, we can get you some, but they are not marketing it. They're suggesting, it's like suggesting a supplement. So they have to be very careful. So people say, "Oh, great, I'm going to go with this," and they can market. Everybody that comes into their clinic can be on ASEA. They're not allowed to do that. So that's an important aspect of that to watch out for. But if you are just going to talk to your vet, period, talk to him as a person before you talk to him as a veterinarian.
That's a good point. Thank you. All right, I have one more question. I'm gonna let Cindy ask her question. So you tell us about the ASEA Advancing Life Foundation. My understanding of you have been on a few of those missions.
Well, did you see, might have happened to notice this is my desktop. I just went to Africa with the ASEA Advancing Life this last summer. I have been on every ASEA Advancing Life expedition that they have gone on. ASEA has an incredible foundation. The thing I love most about it is there's no money is taken out of any donations that the foundation brings in to pay for the overhead of the foundation itself. The director is an employee of ASEA, of the company. The board of directors are all volunteers. Everything, all the overhead for everything is paid for by the company. So none of that comes out of donations that we give to the foundation. Every single penny that goes into the foundation goes to needy causes. Not only that, the company matches dollar for dollar every single thing that comes in. So every dollar you give is $2 to the cause. They have incredible causes all over the world, really, that they have given money to. They're disaster relief, and their two main focuses, well, not main, one of the main focuses is trafficking of children. So they're very, very strong in that. We have sponsored many drug dogs that sniff out drugs, and they have found the dogs have been very instrumental in saving. And there are all sorts of wonderful statistics of how many kids we've saved because the dogs have sniffed out the drugs, and they can arrest the perpetrators. So that's very good. But the rest of them are humanitarian causes. Like we went 3 years in a row, we went to Ecuador to help build a school way up in the Andes Mountains in a very rural area that we're getting poorer and poorer because all the young people were leaving and going to the cities because they couldn't make a living at home. So we built a vocational school there. And we were there hands-on, I mean, digging ditches and pulling out rocks and doing all this stuff for 3 years. And during the course of that, they built this beautiful school there. And now we're going back this next year to Ecuador to see the school in its finished form and meet some of the people that have graduated and have set up their own small businesses because they're certified through our school. So that's been so exciting. It just tears. I can't wait to go back. It's going to be great. We went to Cambodia and helped with clean water issues and helped plant gardens and gave money for sinking water wells there so that they could have clean water. We went to Mexico and built huge cisterns and outside ovens because people were getting respiratory problems because they were cooking in these little huts, and we built outside ovens so that they could cook outside. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We went to and then we went to Africa this last year where we sponsored a place called Mothers Without Borders, which works for disadvantaged children. It's a wonderful big community there that has an orphanage and it has a primary school, and they serve the entire area, and all their kids from the orphanage go to this primary school. And we have for instance, this year, we paid all of the expenses, all the teachers' salaries for the entire year because they were trying to, struggling and everything. So we have consistently done several things there to help keep that going. And that program was life-changing. I mean, all of them are just jerk at your heartstrings, but that one was really, really special. And I'm so glad you asked about it because it's very, very near and dear to my heart. And I think, when you see what this kind of thing can do for people. It's just, it opens your mind and your heart to the world and to try to make the world a better place. Again, it's a part of our mission statement.
Yeah, that's what I love about being a part of the company. It's with such integrity, and then we have such a gift to share to so many people with our product, our technology, and yet then our company has a heart to want to help the world with with these missions that you've been on. So, all right, Miss Cindy, I'm gonna let you ask questions that you have.
Okay, I just have a couple. And again, if anyone has questions, go ahead and put those in the chat for Beth. Beth, you talked about other animals that you've also used the Redox with. So what if you had a bird or cat that would not take it? How would you suggest introducing it to them?
Curiously, interesting you should say birds. I don't have a bird, but I know a lot of people who do. And birds love to be misted, from what I understand. Like they they preen and they'll pull their arms, their wings out. Really, like a lot of people say, they spray their birds because they love to be misted, and they spray them with ASEA, and the birds love it. They think it's wonderful. And I've talked to several people that have had, their pet birds. I guess when they are stressed, they molt or they lose their feathers. And sometimes when they're really stressed, they dig at themselves and things like that. And they get very worried. And once they start using Redox on them, that is completely gone. And I've some pictures actually of how they, this old, poor little kind of naked bird, and then they have beautiful plumage after that. So that works great. The misting again. Dogs are an interest, and cats especially. My cat, what I do with him is I put him up on the counter, and I put him tuck him under my arm, and I support his jaw, just his chin like this. And I have a syringe, a plastic syringe, about a 10 cc syringe, and I pull the ASEA up in that, and I just put it in the corner of his mouth, and he just goes. And some of them will just drink it, like you don't have to even do all that, but he just likes to be supported when he's doing it. Some cats don't. They don't tolerate that. Some cats will drink out of the bowl, but that's very rare. But some cats won't tolerate you putting something in their mouth, in which case I would definitely go with the Renew 28, because that's the same molecules. It's the same exact thing, but you can rub it on the inside of their ears, just on their ear flaps, anywhere on their bodies that you can get through the hair and into the skin. So you can rub it on the pads of their feet. You can rub it on inside their ears. You can rub it on their gums of their mouth, anywhere that they have. You can get through the hair. That's the biggest challenge for that. Same thing with dogs. The interesting thing with dogs, we were talking about this before we started. We have a rescue dog that is great drinking his ASEA, but he has to have a tiny, tiny little bit of food with it. Most dogs, you can kind of give them the ASEA, put a little food in it, and then gradually take the food away, and they'll drink it out of. And a lot of dogs will run right up and drink it right out of the bowl. My dog's never done that. He's very picky. And so we put a little tiny bit of something smelly, like Parmesan cheese or tuna fish or some little thing or some treat that he really likes that smells strong. And we'll put that tiny little bit in. And yes, you're absolutely right. We lose a few of the molecules when you do that, because the molecules immediately start reacting as soon as they hit anything organic. But he also drinks it right up very quickly. So as soon as we do that, he drinks it all up. And I know for a fact that it helps him, because when we went away one time and I forgot to tell the farm sitter to give him his ASEA, within 12 hours she called and said, "Oh, Clancy's lame. He's really limping, and I don't know what's wrong." And I said, "Oh no, give him his ASEA." And I called her that night. She called me that morning, and I called her that night, and he said, "Oh, he's fine now. He drank his ASEA. He's fine." So I know that little tiny bit of tuna fish or cheese that I put in there does not take all the molecules away. It still works. So I would definitely do that if that's the only way you can get it down your dog. Having said that, the other thing that's important to know is that with large animals, predominantly horses, of course, but I've heard people do it with their cows, their dairy cows and things too. You can use it rectally. because this is the fascinating thing about this biotechnology is it will go wherever it goes into the body. It will immediately go to the part of the body that is imbalanced, and it doesn't matter which end it goes in. It doesn't have to be metabolized. It doesn't have to go through the stomach line doing it. It just can go. The reason why we suggest people hold it in their mouths is because the lining of the mouth is very absorbent, and so it will go into the system faster. It's the same with the rectal tissue. If you put ASEA in the rectum, it will go immediately into because that rectal tissue is very absorbent, and it will go wherever in the body it's needed. So it's a hard, for our westernized brains, it's a little hard to figure out how to describe that it doesn't have to go through the digestive process. But it works much better because honestly, if you try to give it in the mouth, every horse that I've ever tried to give it, any kind of medication or stuff that needs to be given to a horse, it's always real viscous, real pasty, because they try to spit it out. And yes, you can hold his head up for a while, but those heads are heavy. And as soon as you drop his head, he's going to spit half of it out. And it kills my soul to see those molecules go pouring out on the ground. So you put it in a big I put it in a big 60cc syringe and just squirt it in rectally. And they don't mind, horses don't mind that a bit, because that's the way you take their temperature and everything. It bothers people more than it does horses, but it works brilliantly. So that's what I would suggest for that as well.
I think the biggest challenge there might be for someone finding a 50cc syringe. Those are not commonplace.
True, true.
I do have one more, and there were some comments in the chat, not questions. And there was a good reminder: do not put the ASEA in a metal bowl if you're putting it down for your cat or dog, because it reacts with metal. So either plastic or something different, glass, whatever. So I know we talked about the redox molecules, and in the trial studies that they've proven with their lab animals, that mice ran 29% further after 7 days of being on redox. So with your horses and the owners, are they open to looking at redox for their horses and or for them? I mean, think about if they're race horses, every one of your horses should be on redox, right?
You would think so.
You would
Having
think so.
said that, it would be wonderful. Any horse that I would ever race myself would be on redox. And if you see my animal webinar, we did put one of our race horses on it, and it was a wonderful response. But again, because the issue with any kind of athletics is the endurance sports are much easier to document. Because endurance sports, you take like endurance riding, you have 50-mile rides, but they have mandatory vet checks where they check the horse's pulse and his respiration to make sure he's recovering well. And then you go on to the next stop. So any kind of endurance activity is going to be the noticeable difference when you drink the redox molecules. With race horses, I mean, a long, the Kentucky Derby is 1.25 miles, and it takes a minute 36 seconds. And every time I've tried to reach out early on, I tried to reach out to some racehorse trainers at the track. And I said, choose one horse that you're not doing well. And I've had, 2 or 3 times, 3 times, I think, that I can remember distinctly, these horses improved significantly, but instead they say, oh, it was a cooler day, or they like that track better. They like the footing was better that day. And so they have all these excuses on why their horse won a race when he wasn't winning at all, and he won a race when he's been on redox. And I got tired of it. I said, all right, forget it. But if you have anytime you have an endurance sport of any kind, it's remarkable, because people will then be able to recognize the difference in their performance and recovery. Obviously, the issue with any kind of performance animal is really being able to document how they're feeling. They can't tell you how they're feeling. You have to be able to document it somehow. So that's the challenge I have with racehorses. But
I didn't think about the fact, that's a good point, but the fact that it's less than 2 minutes, and there are several variables that could play into that. Like you said, a cooler day, or the track was dry as opposed to muddy, or, lots of things. So that's a good point, but still, they should all be on redox.
We know it's helping them, but we can't convince else that way.
Right. What is the lifespan of a racehorse?
sadly, the lifespan, the racing, the career of a racehorse is very brief. They're
Mhm.
in their prime. I mean, don't get me started on 2-year-old racing. I think it's absolutely criminal to race a horse as a 2-year-old.
Mhm.
That's like saying having a middle school go and to
Mhm.
some, yeah, it
Yeah.
drives me crazy. But people want to return on their investment because it's a very expensive sport. So they start as 2-year-olds. So some of them race and they're late in their 2-year-old year. And then all the main races that you hear about, the Kentucky Derby and the Triple Crown and the people that you hear about, those are all for 3-year-olds. So they're 3 years old, and then they continue on. The really good ones, they retire immediately to stud, and because they want to make more money as a a
Right.
stallion, a breeding stallion, than they do racing. So they don't want them to get hurt. They want them to go ahead and retire at the top of their game, or they can go on and run for. I mean, there are horses. Sometimes they geld a horse because he's really difficult to handle, and they'll geld a horse, and if he starts running really well, and those horses they will run up to 7 years old, 7, 8 years old. But this is 8 years old. Horse, the lifespan is 25 to, I mean, 30 years old is a very, very old horse, but it's like a 100-year-old person. And there are
Right.
people horses that live till they're 30. So their racing career is basically over no later than 7 or 8.
Mhm.
So it's really what other things we do is we end up getting some horses, some of our favorite horses, so come back to us and we teach them to jump and we sell them as jumpers. So as hunters and jumpers. So we try to give them another career after their racing career is over.
That's pretty cool. Well, again, just think of how much better they would be if they would take this every day, but we can't do that.
Exactly.
I don't have
Exactly. I'm
any.
with you.
Did you have any other pictures you wanted to show, Beth, or was that it?
Um, I've kind of got little. Well, I can tell a Smokey story, I guess. Many people in ASEA have known that we had a barn fire, and it was horrible, but we didn't have any horses in the barn. They were out for the day, and it was the middle of the day in the middle of January, and our training barn burned down, which was
Mhm.
catastrophic because
Mhm.
we thought we were going to be unemployed, literally unemployed, while we were
Mhm.
building the barn back. We figured out some way to get it rigged up so that we could train temporarily in a temporary facility on the farm until we got the barn back. But the next morning, we were so happy that there were no horses in it. But I said, "Oh no, Smokey's gone! Smokey's gone!" And I was like I always say it was like a Disney movie because Smokey came running out of the woods, crying, screaming, and was terribly burned and very traumatized. And we picked him up and we put him and took him up to the house. And wait a minute, I have pictures of Smokey when we first found him.
Mm.
It was very sad. This is one, and this is his little feet. His little feet were all blistered, and he was
Oh,
all of his everything was burned off. We thought, and when we took him to the vet, we thought he was going to lose his ears completely
oh, wow.
because his ears were just really, really damaged. And I started slathering with him with Renew. And it was amazing. Not only the thing that I think is the most remarkable thing, which I've noticed with a couple of our horses too. Not only did it help him heal, which he's now. I mean, this isn't the latest one, but this is about a month
Wow.
later. So you see, and look
Looks
at his
good.
ears. His
Oh
I
my.
know.
Wow.
Um, and
So
he's
cute.
doing beautifully.
Oh, he's
Um, I
precious.
think what is often overlooked is how much this does psychologically, what the molecules can do for people that have anxiety or issues like that. Any kind of depression, anxiety. Many people have reported that that has helped their anxiety and their depression significantly. If you watch my animal video, that one of our horses was very, very stressed out, and we started giving him ASEA, and it just changed him completely within 5 days. I believe Smokey healed the way he did because he was so traumatized and so terrified that I thought, and I was afraid it was going to hurt him. I didn't want to touch him, but I didn't want to spray him because that was going to scare him too. So I kind of would reach into his carrier and I'd pull him out of his carrier and put him on my lap and just slather him with Renew. I would put a gob of Renew in my fingers and I would tent my fingers on top of his ears and just hold his ear. And I wouldn't really rub it. I would just hold it on both ears. I would put it against his face. I would put it on all of his feet and just hold the gel against his feet because I didn't want him to hurt. And within 2 days, he would purr. He'd see me coming and he would get in my lap and purr while I was putting this on. And I honestly, truly believe that it helped his anxiety and the trauma that he went through. I really believe that. So I have so much to be thankful for with those redox molecules.
Well, like you said, we know it helps people when they drink the liquid, and the Renew is just a concentrated version. And again, it's absorbed, so it goes where it needs to go. So I totally agree with you that it does help with trauma. That's all the questions. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So Beth, you had this barn fire. Had you not been sharing ASEA, that might not have been very well because I'm sure this supplemented your income, right?
Well, by all means, the most interesting thing is you heard me say at the beginning, I was never focused on the money that came in. I was very happy when I was sharing this with people. I've always looked at my ASEA business as, I have a small sphere of influence because I'm on the farm all day long. And yes, we have our owners and we have our, but we don't see a lot of people like doctors do, or people who work in retail or whatever. So I had a certain number of people that I could share this with, but there was a significant number of those decided they wanted to share it as well. And because of that, I have now thousands of people in many countries all over the world that are benefiting from this product that I never could have gotten close to or could have helped in any way. And because I told my friend who told their friends, who told their friends, who told their friends, now we've reached people that I will never meet in my lifetime, which is just the most amazing thing that you can help that many people that way. In the interim period, I started getting these thank you checks every week, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I thought, oh, this is really awesome. So I started paying attention and learning more about that, and built a really wonderful business that we looked at it for so long. Because if one of us gets hurt, I don't think the other one would stay in the business by themselves. And so our lifestyle would stop completely every day we go out, we stand the chance of getting hurt. So, we've always had this kind of a little bit of uneasiness of what would happen if something serious happened to one of us. And about 5 years ago, and I've been in ASEA about 10 years, my husband said for the first time, he said, for the very first time, I feel a sense of security. I think that we are going to be okay. If something happens to us, your ASEA money will help us. It will help us get through. And I said, I agree with you completely. Well, then we had this barn fire, and until we got set up temporarily, which took us quite a while, we lived on our ASEA money, and it was a godsend. I paid the mortgage on the farm. I paid our employees so they didn't have to go find another job. They stayed and helped us clean up and everything, but they're wonderful employees that are like a part of our family. And it was killing me to think that they were going to have to go find another job because we couldn't afford to pay them. We weren't getting any income, and my ASEA paid that. So that was the most remarkable thing, and I will never take my ASEA business for granted ever, because it's amazing what it does for you.
Yeah, I love that, because you can be not really working that hard or sharing this as intentionally, and you be going through a really rough time, and you're still getting paid every week. That's residual income, which both Cindy and I, we work for corporations, so to speak. And if we're off, we're not, unless we have PTO time, we don't get paid, so, it's such a blessing.
And exactly. Residual income. Almost everybody in any self-employed business, they'll say that if I'm not there, I don't get paid. A massage therapist doesn't get paid unless she's there doing the work. And not to only mention that, but the team that we've built together has been just a joy. I have some of my very dearest friends now, or I would never have met without this company. And it's like we go to ASEA meetings and we have old home week. This is awesome. We get to see all our friends. So it's lovely. And, we love working together. It's a family. It really is. And it's a wonderful way to make a living. It's like, Alan Noble says there's no better way to make a living than to make a difference in someone's life. So
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Absolutely. I love that, Beth. Well, we
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on, Beth. This has been awesome tonight. Um,
you bet.
I didn't see any other questions in the chat, but there were some great comments. Also, our guest for next week will be Dr. Dick Walker. And so he is one of our doctors on our medical professional board, but also he was an ER and I believe internal medicine. And then he also went back and got some functional integrative type training as well. So he's a pretty amazing guy and he will have an awesome story, I'm sure. So be sure to join us next Tuesday night. This will be uploaded, like I said, to our YouTube channel and it should be available in the morning. So everyone, thank you again, Beth, and everyone, we will see you next Tuesday. Let me stop this.
Thank you all for doing this. We really appreciate what you do for our ASEA community. The two of you, Cindy and Doria. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. And
Thank
check out her animal webinar. It's pretty cool. You've got to go there.
Oh, there's a Facebook page. I have a Facebook page too that again, you have to be approved to get in it because of compliance issues. It's called Healthy Redox Pets. And that's all just stories. We cannot answer questions. It's all just stories. So it's just the way that that corporate or the way that compliance insists that we can't answer questions there. So just go and watch, and there's hundreds of stories.
And
so
is
there you
this
go.
on
Okay.
YouTube or is this on Facebook?
It's on Facebook.
Okay, great.
Healthy Redox Pets. And then just ask to join. I approve everybody every day. So it won't take any time to get you in there.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Beth.
so much. This has been wonderful. We really appreciate you.